right, welcome to the DM Emporium. This is a new podcast where it's, talking about D&D stuff. I think you probably got that if you clicked on it, but that's okay. Basically, we're just going to go through all the little details and things that we love about D&D, talk about some of the stuff that we've made and that you can take and trade around. That's why it's the Emporium, take a bit, leave a bit. So we're just going to go through kind of some fun stuff, but let's go and introduce ourselves. My name is Ty Hunt. I've been DMing for over 6 years now. Oh, geez. That was a 1 through 20 campaign, so many one-offs, a whole bunch of different things. Only really DM'd a couple of games, mainly 5e is what this podcast is going to be about. But I have played other things. Oh man, what was the one that was called? Not Pedal. I played Pedal Paladins. That's a one shot, like a one sheet where it's like literally the rules are on one sheet. And then Glitter Hearts. Glitter Hearts is this cool magical girl game, but I ran it like Power Rangers, and it was really fun. But we're gonna go into a few different things. But alongside me is go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Alex Root. I've been DMing for, I just did the quick math, 13 years, I think. And I've never successfully completed a 1 to 20 campaign, though it is a deep, deep desire to do so. Unfortunately, I have problems committing and a very active imagination. So about 6 levels in, I'll get bored and decide, well, that's been fun. Let's do something else. I've run plenty of D&D from 3.5 to Pathfinder. Skipped 4th edition.
I played 4th edition. That was a good idea.
That's what I've heard. So that's kind of why I did that. Did 5th edition. I've done some percentile systems, all of the Fantasy Flight Warhammer, some Zweihander.
Although we can't play that anymore because that guy turned out to be just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
We'll take the system, leave the douchebag.
Exactly.
I mean, we already bought it, so.
Yeah, right. I mean, I built an entire campaign world for the last 3 years around that system. I just can't put it down now.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I've rolled some dice once or twice.
Just a few times.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's kind of us. Hopefully just casual vibe. But one of the things that we're going to do is kind of break it up into sections so you can skip around and listen to the parts you want and skip the parts you don't. Although I would recommend listening to all of it just because I like the sound of my own voice.
There are heroes whose tales have yet to be told. Maybe they can find a home in your game or played by you. The Character Adoption Agency for PC and NPC seekers.
Doesn't that sound great? You like my dad doing that?
Yeah, no, it was
kicking ass.
Kind of him to do that for us.
Yeah, if you guys want his services for your own podcast, yes, he is available to do voice work. gshhuntaudio.com. For the Character Adoption Agency, it's a simple idea. We create characters so often that we decided somebody might as well play them since we're never going to get around to playing all of them.
Yeah, really, Jesus.
Holy cow. But we kind of go into the build, the backstory, and then, how you can play it in your game. Because we're going to try to keep it to characters that aren't specific to one particular world.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are, we'll give you ideas on how to adapt them.
Yeah.
Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Well, I'd like you to start, actually. You can get us off, kick us off right.
All right. So kicking us off is a character I swear to God I'm going to play one day. No, it's never going to happen. This is a half-orc named Thranol. He was the first character I ever played in Pathfinder. Never DM'd Pathfinder because the chart to wrestle people just made me say no. But
that's very valid.
But I adapted the character into 5e, and basically let's just go into his backstory. So Thranol in 5e, I had to adapt him a little bit. So basically he is got a few tenets that he lives by. Take what you need from nature, but respect its power. Courage invites luck. Never flinch in the face of danger, but don't court it unprepared. And then change is constant. The only certainty in life is death. Death is not to be feared, but celebrated as part of the natural cycle. So he's kind of more of a, in this one, I went ahead and made like the hunt character. The character who he's respect for nature. He's going to go on a wild hunt and everything like that. And that's where he's going to start off. I was looking up some old deities and things like that, and I came across Balinor, the god of the hunt. And so, but he has this really cool, like, yearly, let's all hunt the biggest beast around and take it down. And I thought that was really fun, so I adapted Thranol to do that. Now, the big thing about his Pathfinder build was that he had claws, and I imagine, like, chitinous black Wolverine claws almost coming out, but only 2 on each hand. much less clean, of course. But for that, we'll go to the build actually. So the build here is going to be 6 barbarian and then 4 and fighter. I only took it to 10. That's going to be really good to tell the story, but the big thing is the paths. Yeah, Path of the Beast. If you take that to 6th level, that'll give you the bestial soul. So you'll have a climbing speed. So you can run around at the speed of might. You have the fast movement, so you can get up, get in there, and then you have the most important 5th level extra attack.
Yes.
So you're getting a lot of attacks out of this because with the primal path, we get the form of the beast where you can choose to have you can use bite, which you'll transforms into a mesial muzzle, a tail, but for this build we're going to do the claws. Now, each claw you can't carry a weapon or anything like that, but you can use them as weapons, and they count as weapons, which is important because that means you can use them in your offhand attack because it has to be a weapon.
Yeah.
So but they do 1d6 damage, slashing damage on hit, and then once on your turn, if you attack with the claw with your attack action, you get an extra attack. So we have our 2 attacks, and then we get our 3rd attack, and then we got our bonus action attack for 4 attacks. And that's
not bad at level 10.
1d6 plus 5 each attack. Could be much worse. But to accent this and the attacks, because we're kind of trying to be the biggest beast in town, went with the good old Rune Knight. Now, if you don't know Rune Knight basically at level 3 you get Giant Smite, which basically you can grow large, increase in one side, and that adds extra damage to your attacks, and just all around super fun. Now, at level 10, I assumed some items. It's only 2. I figure you have 1 blue and 1 green at the very least. So I went with the Belt of Hill Giant Strength to boost that strength because that's going to be our main stat.
Right.
And then the Eldritch Claw Tattoo, which gives his unarmed attacks, gives his attacks +1 and makes them magical damage. I think it counts for his natural weapons, so that's why I took that. I'll have to double check that, but I think.
Yeah, it seems, as a DM, I would allow it.
Exactly. The main thing. Now, no spells to worry about in this build, luckily, but because, spells will get into the weeds too much. But
oh Lord Almighty.
But the cool thing about Thranol, if you want to play him as either a PC or an NPC in your game, is that him respecting the balance of nature and everything like that can make him interesting for your party to interact with if you're playing him as an NPC. Like they have to act properly, so he can, and if they do mess with him, depending on what level you introduce him at, he could be a problem for the party, or he can be a really nice ally for you to play for a little while, or he can just be the guy who introduces the hunt. He could be that character you use to bring that Brotherhood of Balinar into your own game. For thematic skills, I gave him animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, of course, perception, and survival. So all the things that you'd expect from a great hunter who is not a ranger.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like he'd make a really great ranger. In fact, probably better than half the ranger builds that are running around out there.
I think so too.
Just a depressing state of the meta it is.
I believe in the Swarm Master Ranger, but
go Gloomstalker or go home. That's my opinion.
Well, listen, you're only going it for a few levels anyway, so you might as well, get what you can.
Yeah.
Before you dip fighter and become a real threat. Or rogue, depending. But one of the things I added for flavor was that he's proficient with a horn. So I imagine him having this big hunting horn, sort of type thing.
I was very concerned for a moment. I was like, well, he's already using claws. Where's he getting the horns from, man? Had me going. All right.
You know what they call... Never mind.
Sir?
And then I give him Smith's tools because there wasn't a lot of good options.
Why not Leatherworker's tools?
Wasn't it good? It wasn't one that came up in the backgrounds.
Okay.
So I went with Outlander. So that way he can wander into any campaign. You can just... And it had a lot of the other stuff that was really good for him. Now, as far as like kind of how he looks, he is 7'2", still a medium creature, but big ass.
Right.
He's got gold eyes. Is one of the things because I like to give like at least one striking feature. And other than this, he's kind of more of a standard looking orc. Green skin, black hair, weighs like 275 pounds.
Oh, he's a big fella.
He's a big fella. And one of the things Big Fly gave him was he's slow to trust.
Okay.
Anything that's, whether it's other, tribes, societies, literally anybody. So, as a player character, you can, I would recommend it if you're playing as him as a PC and you're the one playing him, make it a reward moment. Don't make it a punishment moment. So like, don't use it to not trust people, don't tear people down with it, but give them that moment of you're okay.
Okay. See, that's a really good way to, use features like that. And I think we can go into that in the other section. Yeah.
But so those are kind of like his defining traits, kind of the build if you want to use him. And I will include the link to his D&D Beyond down in the doobly-doo.
Oh, that's smart.
As they say.
Maybe I can hop on your profile and use your D&D Beyond to make some of my mistakes.
I've spent in, frankly, unresponsible amount of money on that, so we might as well both use it.
Sure.
But that's the character I brought. So like I said, useful for any hunts or any, that type of character if you're a DM. And then if you're a player character and you want to play somebody who is, he has noble ideals, but they're not noble in the aspect of nobility. He's not cultured, but he believes strongly. And once you get his trust, it'll be there forever. As far as voice goes, I know everybody's going to use their own voice, but I imagine with those big, chomper teeth, I heard that Thrainhall speaks like this. He's got kind of that roughness to him, but when you get the "you're okay," kind of feels a little better. And yeah, I do stick my jaw all the way out for that, for those of you who can't see it. So what did you bring?
Oh, geez. Well, how do I follow that? All right, so I brought, and I've just tacked a name onto them, and that's probably something I'm going to do for all of my characters, because feel free to rename them as appropriate for the game world and the culture that, the character's from, because I recognize that in a lot of settings there are very different cultures that have very different naming conventions.
Yeah, see, that's very nice of you. You have to play mine exactly the way I... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's a great way to tell them, though. Yeah, adaptability, this is what it's all about.
Yeah. All right, so his name is Ozias. He is a reborn lineage, marine background. His classes are Armorer Artificer 3 and Order of the Scribes Wizards 7. We're just going to go up to 10, like Ty did. So the backstory to this guy is that he is from insert appropriate country from whatever setting you're playing in that likes to do magical experiments, likes their fighters to be able to cast spells, but also is in need of a, decently strong military force.
You're thinking like, is it Guild from Ravnica sort of thing?
Yeah. Cool. Yes, he's his inspirations come from more modern themes.
No, that's fair.
But I won't go into those for fear of tainting the character.
Okay.
So obviously with Artificer and Wizard, his most important ability score is going to be Intelligence, because that's going to govern both of his spell lists.
Yep.
It also will apply to his attack rolls.
Yep.
Because really when you're...
Artificer's awesome.
Yeah, if you're doing the Armorer, there's no reason to, if you're, multi-classing with Wizard, there's no reason not to just use the Thunder Gauntlets. That's the whole point of the Artificer dip, is you want that heavy armor, because you're a Wizard, you're squishy, you're going to have problems, but...
Not no more. Look at my armor.
Not in full plate that you don't have to worry about the strength score too. Yeah. So yeah, that's something you're going to want to shoot for as early as possible with the build, is getting half or full plate. Full plate, obviously, the ideal, the golden child of armor class.
I don't know, you heard about those new tattoos?
Well, true. It's worth noting that because your armor works as a spell focus, at least for your Artificer spells, you can run around using a shield. So you're looking at a easy 20 armor class, and then with one of your infusions, you can bump your armor or your shield up by +1, and that's a 21. That's nothing to sneer at.
Hell yeah.
So the reason I went Order of the Scribe Wizard instead of some of the more interesting subclasses like the Divination or Chronology Wizard or anything like that.
The Chronology, I'm obsessed with that.
I know everyone is. They're great.
Of course, Scribes I'm also obsessed with. So why Scribe? Sorry, I derailed you there.
No, you're fine. So the reason that I went Scribe is I want him to have combat versatility. Like the whole point of this character is he is a soldier. The Marine background, it's either on boats or on flying boats, airships, that sort of thing. Even Spelljammers could be appropriate, though.
Ooh.
Might do a different backstory for those. But that's the whole point. Is he is a Marine on a ship. He is a weapon. So with Order of the Scribe, when you're looking at your levels 1, 2, and 3 spells and stuff that you can get, the ability to prepare them with different damage types is going to be fantastic, because then you've got things like Fireball that suddenly does lightning damage, or
Lightning bolt.
yeah, exactly. They had back in 3.5, they had all the spells of all the different area effects, just with different names and different damage types. It was ridiculous.
Now, is it every damage type?
It's not every damage type, so you have to have a spell of the same level that deals whatever the other damage type is. So a good example is Lightning Bolt and Fireball. You can make your Lightning Bolt deal fire damage, you can make your Fireball deal lightning damage, but you can't just be like, well, necrotic's really nice, and no one's going to resist that in this fight, so we'll do necrotic. And
Okay.
it is important to note that it's when you prepare the spell. It's not just drop of the hat.
Now, just curious. You said he's a like kind of a living weapon. Now, did something happen to turn him into the weapon?
Oh yeah, so that's part of his lineage, his race, the Reborn. So started out as a perfectly normal fella who was probably talented in magic or maybe fighting, one or the other or both. Agreed to undergo this sort of hey, we need better and better soldiers to deal with our
We need
nation's
soldiers who
enemies.
can't drown on these boats.
Exactly, soldiers who can't drown. It's really helpful when our soldiers don't need to eat.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Okay.
Advantage on death saving throws. So all of that he doesn't remember who he was before he was brought back as this kind of living weapon. I mean,
The amnesia characters.
yeah, well, he's kind of an amnesia character, and it works in with what the Reborn has going on, because a couple times per day, based on their proficiency bonus, they can roll an extra d6 whenever they do like an ability check or a skill check.
Yeah.
And like the idea behind that, at least as it's written in Van Richten's, is you're remembering things from your past life.
Now, when if you were playing this character, would you have like a list of things that you do, or would you just use that opportunity and let it tell the story?
I would leave it open, and then whenever it seems like it's going to be, going to help my story and also the party's story move along in a particular direction, then I might drop in, oh yeah, I remember that, something about that, strange, yeah, triangle-shaped platinum coins. I visited a country like that before, something like that,
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because then you're not shoehorning yourself into, oh, well, it doesn't apply to my very specific ideas that I had for a backstory,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
womp
man.
womp.
The old, very specific, probably never going to get used backstories.
Exactly. That's something I'm very guilty of, and I'm trying to, as I continue to develop as a player and a DM, be a little bit more open and receptive about, because it makes it easier for everyone if you can just slip your character in instead of expecting the story to just form around what you've built.
That's the one thing with either of these characters is like yours is built really nicely to fulfill into a slot and also evolve into what the party needs them to be, while also being flavorful along the way, which I really like. It's funny because Thranol's almost the complete opposite. He's the best at what he does. No, I'm just kidding. I did not build him to be Wolverine. I just couldn't help making the joke because we were talking about Wolverine earlier.
It's really funny, actually.
But like that was the thing that I wanted him to be very specific to what he does. So you'll have to, if you're gonna play him as a PC, let everybody know that's the slot you're going to be taking up. So that way you don't have two rangers going.
Or
Unless
the one
that's what
ranger
you
in the
wanna play,
party
who
is
am I
just
kidding?
the ranger in the party is just depressed and takes up drinking because Thranol's better at everything.
Anyway, what was you said, I keep wanting to call it him as Osmenios because that was the name of one of my characters.
Ozias.
Ozias. Excellent.
It's a name I'm very fond of, have used for a lot of characters, and decided to, since this fella is getting recorded for posterity, put it out into the world.
Perfect. So, anything else? Oh, for Order of the Scribes, now you can summon like a thing and use it to cast stuff with, right?
Yeah, so you've got basically a little, how to phrase this not in
Paper homunculus?
Yeah, it's like, well, I think of it as like the little AIs from Halo.
Oh, okay.
Definitely not the inspiration behind this character.
Damn it, I knew it was one of them. Somebody in power armor.
Hey, I'm a simple man. But so yeah, you get this little magically created being. It says in the description that it can be any sort of thing that you want it to be. I've always been a fan of, based on what the ability description says, having it be one of like the scribes of legend, like Mordenkainen or something.
Oh, that's fun. You know what's funny? Hit with random inspiration as you're saying that, like, as a reborn, you don't know who this person is. It turns out it's old you.
Yeah.
Like you find out
When
as
you
the
were
end of the
younger.
campaign goes, yeah. Like
Oh,
that's who
that's
you used to
great.
be.
Well, an idea that I had for the character since being an armorer artificer, you never really have to take off your armor, and you can't like no one
Yeah.
can take it off of you unless you want them to.
Depends if you're doing the heavy armor sleeping rules, right?
Well, you don't need to sleep if you're a reborn.
Oh shit. Okay, you got me.
Yeah, see, that's you just need to kick it for 4 hours. It's actually better than the Warforged not needing sleep.
Damn. Oh yeah, because they have to go into sentry mode, right?
Yeah, they have to basically be inactive for 6 hours. For the reborn, it's just 4 hours, I believe, and it's just you relax. Like it doesn't say that you have to be particularly inactive or anything.
Well, and that's just one watch. So you know, in a party, somebody takes first watch, and then you got the rest.
An interesting thing about the lineage is that the book description is very free and open with what you are supposed to look like. You know, if you look at it, it says that you were magically resurrected. So maybe you're just a normal person. Stitches bind your body's mismatched pieces. So you
that's
got
fun.
kind of a Frankenstein theme going on.
Oh my god! Can you imagine you like have memories from different pieces of you because
Oh.
you're made of a bunch of different people?
That's horrifying, but also fantastic. One of the ones that I like is that you clawed yourself free from your grave. Now, because it doesn't specifically say that you look exactly like, whatever your parent race, so to speak, was, your original race, I've read that and interpreted it as there's no reason you couldn't play a skeleton.
Yeah.
Or some sort of, like a ghoul-looking undead, something
I wanted
like
to play
that.
skeleton forever, and
Same.
I hadn't thought about Reborn. That's
I actually the
and
first
then your
time I
helm
read
covers
it,
your full
exactly.
face.
So
Oh.
no one knows that you're this undead guy until halfway through the campaign. Finally, you take your helmet off because you've just finished some epic battle or something, and everyone sees that they've been walking around with osmosis bones there.
Oh, new terrible name for a character I'm never gonna play.
But yeah, it's just could add a little bit of interesting depth to the characters if you wanted to have one of those gotcha moments where it doesn't really affect the campaign so much as much as it does just provide a really interesting
And
interaction.
I gotta say, as a DM, just the introduction of a character like this, the idea of using like an evil empire that is literally they're not waiting for you to die. You come in and they process you to become this thing. I mean, that's so useful to a DM, whether you're using him as an NPC or a PC, especially if
Yeah.
it's a PC. So I'm gonna have to run this character for you at some point.
All right, I can dig it.
Now I'm all interested in this thing because you got me.
As far as mechanically, I mean, we kind of went over the level 3 spells, or at least the two big ones that everyone loves, Lightning Bolt and Fireball.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth noting that level 2 spells, you get access to Shadow Blade, which is necrotic damage, and I think it's necrotic. It might be force.
I think it's
Let me double
force
check.
last time I
was
checked.
just looking at it, and then I plumb forgot.
It's funny because I was looking at
It is psychic damage.
Ooh, even better.
Psychic damage, which next to no one and their barbarian,
I was gonna
don't
say,
resist.
Mess with your barbarian friends.
And then you can do things like replacing the acid damage of Melf's acid arrow or the fire damage of Scorching Ray, and suddenly you're kicking out psychic damage with those. So you don't have to get up close and personal.
So all your cantrips can basically be whatever
No,
you can cast.
not cantrips. It has to be leveled spells,
Oh,
which
okay.
is cool, I guess.
I get it. No, having free access to any damage type, because it would be any damage type, really.
Darn near. I mean, yeah, the wombo combo I'd go for is trying to figure out a way to get Eldritch Blast somehow, whether it's the magic initiate feat or something, and then all of a sudden you're just kicking out force damage however you want to.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. Well, damn.
Well,
Those two great characters. I feel like they're great. I'm not going to downplay it. I don't need to. But two great characters to get you all kicked off. I'll include both links to both characters down below. And you know what? We'll consider answering questions next time. Because
yeah, absolutely.
Episode 1 was, is anybody going to read this? All right. So this next section, it kind of leads really nicely into, we're going to tell you kind of the way we do things in the way we play.
The way we play.
All right. So this time on the way we play, we're going to discuss the stick and the carrot. Too often and too easily, it's you go straight for the stick because it's the obvious choice. Or you feel that moment of inspiration, you feel like it's the right choice. But as a DM, trust me, most of the time when I chase that, it's not satisfying. So we're going to kind of go, and as a player as well, like to punish another player who made a mistake, the other player already knew they made a mistake. You know, there's interesting ways to kind of turn those and change those moments to be more story rich, more fun for your party, whether you're DM or whether you're playing. And you know how you can enhance moments rather than just going with the obviously, ha, you fucked up. It's also why I don't use fumble tables, because fumble
Oh
tables
God.
feel just bad.
Fumble tables are funny at level 1, and then after level 2, I think they're quite frankly ridiculous, because you mean to tell me that there's a 5% chance that one of the best swordsmen in the country is going to cut off his own foot
Yeah.
every time he swings? Absolutely not.
And it's funny. So let's start there. Natural ones. As a DM, there's a lot of impulse to make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful with that, because a lot of times the funny will go into humiliating.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you got to be careful what you're asking a check for. So my philosophy on checks and natural ones and things is, don't ask for a roll if it's blatantly obvious. Now, I'm going to use an example from a game we played. I'm not calling out the DM. Promise I'm not. But so we were playing Curse of Strahd, like you do. And we're big, scary creatures. Like we decided to play movie monsters attacking Strahd because that's a fun concept.
It is. I'm very proud of it.
I'm basically the creature from the Black Lagoon. You're Predator.
Yeah.
And we were rolling with a werewolf, and we're trying to get our undead friend back from, you know, the actual dead.
Yeah.
And we had a scroll of resurrection the whole time, but we're not going to go into that.
Yeah, you know what? Listen,
we're not calling out anybody. We promised we wouldn't. No.
I don't have control over the inventory shit.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
This is why I can't miss sessions. That's all. No. But we were moving into this house, and you know, I was casting intimidation. Now I have a kind of like a big blood spear as my hex weapon, and I was using that thematically to send messages to people. And I gave me some intimidation checks before they could see us, and rolled really well on those. And then, you know, we kept doing that, but I had to do a check for every single villager, and not like people who have 1d4 health.
Yeah, every random potato farmer in Barovia.
And I rolled, and because I had to do it a million times, of course
inevitably you're going to get a 1. Yeah.
Exactly. And I rolled a 1 on the fucking chef. And I'm sorry, they're like, nobody can not give a fuck to the point of those three motherfuckers, you know, the Black Lagoon, Predator, and Werewolf walking into a kitchen and just go, nah, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah, so get out of my kitchen. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, like contextualizing your roles. Because not only that, as players, your players are going to feel great when they auto pass things, because they're so thematically perfect for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so you want to take that context into, because it's easy to ask for a roll for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. The rules, you know, support that.
Yes.
But you don't have to.
And it's fun to roll dice. We all know that. But you got to keep it contextual. Any villager, you see a freaking monster coming their way, you can have them auto run away, or just be like, or ask them, please don't kill me. And then you give your characters a chance to interact to show them that you're not monsters. You can add another layer there. It's just, if you're it's an over reliance on dice at that point, because you abdicate responsibility for what happens when you have people roll dice, and you want the dice to add to the story, not tell the entirety of the story.
Yeah. At that point, when you start getting that over reliance on dice, and this can be something that we touch on occasionally or come back to as a whole theme, but it takes D&D and turns it from a role-playing game into a board game.
Yes.
Which is something that I've seen far too many times, and I find it to be very frustrating at times.
You're playing more Monopoly than anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it doesn't reward the role-playing at all. Because you know, if somebody's playing this terrifying person and they're doing a really good job and they're really into it, you can take the wind out of their sails with a natural 1 that wasn't even needed. And they're like, oh, great, I didn't even intimidate the cook, you know. Like,
actually happened to my Predator character, in that he's rolled very poorly on a couple of intimidation checks, and it's like he has the head of the equivalent of Baba Yaga hanging on a spear on his back. And you want to tell me you're not at least a little concerned about this man?
Yeah, and you know, honestly, when you're DMing, you have to be careful to not disrespect your players by doing that, because, you know, you got to remember you're playing characters too. You're not playing the world against them.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing the world against them, then everything's going to be a challenge, and that's why you would need a roll for everything. Because but not everything's going to be a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
and
It's
when
collaborative storytelling.
exactly. Yeah, when you ask for everything, like you said, you turn it into a game of chance, which I freaking hate because I roll like crap, except for with our weekend group. That's the only place I roll well. When I'm
Well, hey, I'm
DMing,
glad for it.
when I'm DMing, I have failed I've had a 20, like, because it was 1 to 20. It was like a plus 19 to the check.
Good Lord.
And I rolled a 1. And I was like, okay, no worries. I got advantage on this. I'll roll another 1.
Oh my God.
But, as a DM, I don't mind rolling badly, but it's
Right.
just one of those, like, it was unnatural by the end.
Well, it can be equally frustrating when you're the DM and you roll these terrible rolls for something that's supposed to be, the Darth Vader of your campaign, and all of a sudden, he reaches out to force choke someone and breaks a finger.
What's funny?
That's silly.
You know what got me over that? When you roll really well on something that's not supposed to be, and all of a sudden everybody's dying, and you're like, God, I'm gonna faint. Is this ending
It was
now?
a cantrip. Oh God.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I just nabbed 23 times in a row. I don't know what's happening. This never happened before.
Oh Lord, I recently ran a game for a new group of fellas, and yeah, one of the guys in over the course of I think 5 sessions, I critted him 7 times. He counted.
Whew.
Yeah, it was rough.
Statistically improbable.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm sorry, man. And like, I was splitting up the attacks. I was even doing random rolls. So, it's like you on a 1 or 2, him on a 3 or 4, etc. And no, he just he'd get an attack every now and again, and then every now and again that attack would be a critical.
Perfect. And like, oh, that's another thing. So we're talking about natural 1s and natural 20s.
Yeah.
Is and carrot and stick. Like in combat, when somebody rolls a natural 1, I try not to describe it as something humiliating. Like, well, you're the world, like you said, the world's greatest swordman just fumbled and dropped his sword or something.
Yeah. Unlikely.
You're missing an opportunity to make your bad guys really cool and make them feel like more of a threat. Like, like say you're fighting somebody who's a trident or something, you roll a natural 1, and like he catches it with the trident, he spins it around and hands you your sword back and says, try again.
Oh God, I would be intimidated.
Exactly. Like, it's all about not making your players look or feel bad, because they're playing superheroes. They're playing, God, they're gods to these people,
I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. they're TV or movie superheroes, they're Marvel superheroes that wear cloaks and armor instead of capes and spandex.
Exactly. And you want them to feel that way.
Absolutely.
And occasionally there's going to be situations they can't handle, and there's a major tone shift, and you can plan for that, and that's great storytelling to do, but you don't want the dice to determine those massive moments,
Yeah.
But yeah, taking that opportunity to tell a story rather than to tell a joke. Because, the impulse to tell a joke at the expense of your whole freaking campaign. And like, once you tell a joke like that, it takes 15 minutes to recover. You know?
If everyone's fast about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing that can happen to a player is you make a joke, and then it becomes the meme of the campaign.
Oh God,
and that I've seen people straight up be like, I don't want to play this character anymore.
Actually, if I can be honest, it got close to that with my Predator character. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about the Predator franchise, a big thing about them is taking trophies, glory in the hunt, honor, that sort of thing. This character, for I tell you, must have been 8 to 10 sessions, did not land the killing blow on a single good goddamn monster. Yeah, so it became like this thing, and he's super optimized to do the alpha strike. If he wins at initiative, he's going to be laying out massive amounts of damage.
He's got like a plus 10 too.
Yeah, and he's got a ridiculous bonus to initiative, which the werewolf, for some reason, always manages to roll 1 higher than, but I don't hold it against him. But yeah, I could dish out, 70 damage for that opening attack, just lay waste to someone, and inevitably, yeah, they would have 71 hit points. And so, yeah, for a while it did almost become the meme of the campaign, and I was starting to get a little sour about it.
That's another carrot. If somebody opens up and does a massive, huge, crazy attack, and they have 3 HP, give them a kill.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, I've done that before.
Especially if it's a trophy-based character who the kill is a big deal to. Read the room, or the opposite. If it's a character who's like trying really hard not to kill people, and they do 2 more damage than they have, don't give them the kill.
Yeah.
Like, read your characters, read your players, read your story. Because it's, like I said, it's easy to just fall into that passive, bad things happen to you because I'm the bad things, you know?
Yeah.
or the, hey, that's just what happens.
Sorry, guys, the
Right.
dice lay how they lay.
Well, that's the thing is, we don't want AI storytellers.
Yeah.
Nobody wants, we can put numbers, we can write numbers ourselves.
Yeah.
And especially with the pre-written adventures, you have to be careful because you want your pre-written adventure to have a flavor of its own. You want it to feel unique to those characters.
Yeah.
Now, granted, our DM did a really cool thing that made us extra strong.
Yeah.
They gave us 3d6 plus 6 or something.
2d6. 2d6 plus 6. I don't think we rerolled 1s and 2s, but it's before you came along to this group.
That's fair.
That was an old way of doing ability score specifically for Pathfinder because
Pathfinder's punishing.
yes, it can be at low levels.
Yeah.
Ripping pepperonis, Kuroda.
Kuroda King. I stood over your body as they stabbed you to death. Oh my God. Check that out. There is a stick DM. We, not going to call anybody out by name, but like, never change things to punish your characters for doing well.
Yeah.
Because your characters are supposed to do well.
Yeah, they're supposed to win. That's the point. That's the story we're telling.
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
at the end of the day.
Collaborative storytelling thing. It's not DM versus players. And this is something that I could wax on and on about because, like many people, I played D&D in high school. And in high school, from the other stories I've heard and from my own experiences, that's really where you start to get the trends and the habits of antagonistic DMing come from.
Yep.
Because back when I was in high school,
back in
when I was a boy,
20 years ago.
Oh God.
You hadn't realized,
Oh
had you?
Jesu.
Oh.
Anyway.
Let's
just say that it was not the popular kids playing Dungeons and Dragons.
It was the grognards who smelled weird.
Well, I mean, we all made a point to bathe. Well, most of us did.
Oh, good.
Oh, actually.
The others were just getting real into RP.
So, it's oftentimes it was these guys who had, one or the other social issues or things going on in their lives. And so when they would DM, it became an easy opportunity for them to have any sort of power in any sort of world. And I can't hold that against them because, some of these guys came from really messed up backgrounds.
You know what's the sad thing about that, though? Is they probably, when they were players, really needed those heroic moments and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
And that's actually a really good point. Always DM the game you want to play.
Yeah.
Because if you're not DMing the game you want to play, there's some disconnect and you got to figure out why you're not DMing the game you want to play.
That's I'm going to get that on a t-shirt or something. DM the game you want to play. That's going in my rule books. Man.
You know what? This is a good time to mention one of our sponsors, Super Liminal T-shirts. We'll see if we can get them to make a T-shirt for us and see if we can get it out to you guys ASAP. That's right. We came with sponsors. Don't be jealous. No. It's my brother. Don't have to be jealous.
But no, that's a really good point. But going back to like the antagonistic DMing, that's something that I can talk forever about because instead of, coming together and having this group where you are all telling the same story, it ends up being, 2 or 3 players are trying to tell whatever the D&D story is that they came to show up for. The DM is trying to kill everyone, and one player is trying their damnedest to fight God and beat the DM at his own game, which you'll always lose at.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And man. And then you always have, in those types of games, in my experience, you always have that one character who's just trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just try, and they build characters to be flavorful. In that kind of game, there's no room for flavorful characters. No. That's why I don't like to run games that way, because I want that juicy flavor.
That game style, like I'm thinking about it, and like the more we talk about this, the more it's kind of getting my brain going.
Yeah.
That style of DMing is what generates rules lawyers. Because in my experience, in
it's
the game that
defense.
In the group that I played in, there were 2 really big rules lawyers who were really kind of dicks about it. I was one of them.
No.
Yeah, and it came out of defensive necessity.
Yeah.
When it was like, no, DM, you can't just do that to us. The rules have something for this.
You know what? And that's actually one thing that I really liked in the campaign that I ran, I should say. I really encouraged my players to call me when they thought I got the rules wrong, because I wanted it to be a conversation about the rules, or if I had a reason that the rules weren't working like that way, so it didn't feel like I was just changing things to screw with them. Like, no, there's a story reason,
Yeah.
you know, and that actually built trust between me and my players. They knew that if I was running some nonsense, they're like, hey, that doesn't work that way. I'm like, I know, trust me, there's a reason. And, you know, whether it was an altered stat block, whether it was something that I had changed, because we got to change some stuff, especially
Right.
all the way 1 through 20. You want to keep it fresh and fun,
Absolutely.
you know. But the final boss fight was a really good example because it took them 3 full sessions
Good God
and
Almighty.
like 12 hours of just pure combat. But the field and objectives kept changing a little bit, and like the big bad, you know, could do things. And by that point, I built to the trust where I could build an entirely unfair, broken, I knew they could handle it, bad guy. And they, at that point, had faith in their characters as well, that they could take it on because
Nice.
they were the heroes of the story. They felt like the heroes of the story. They saw it as a challenge rather than he's just trying to screw us.
Right.
And that's I think the place you want to get to is you want your party to trust you, that you're going to take care of them through this journey, and that you're going to throw hard challenges at them, and they may die, but death is part of D&D, and
Yeah.
you can always get your character resurrected. I always made sure when my characters died after the session, I'd be like, hey, you want to keep playing this character? Perfect. So here are some things, you know, that I'm going to drop to kind of bring you back or whatever. And, you know, there's different things. It's really funny. One of my characters, I told him they're going to bring you back, but because of the way I had done, Kenku got their curse broken and became Aarakocra.
Okay.
I was like, you came back, you're going to be being brought back in the astral plane where the curse hasn't been broken. So you'll be a Kenku for a little bit. The player was excited.
Nice.
He was going to screw with everybody. And then they ended up putting his brain back into his old body and rezzing him.
Lord.
So he didn't get to be a Kenku, and he was all disappointed. It was great.
Jeez. How you reminded me of something when you were talking about the rules. Kind of in the way we play theme, keeping on theme with this section.
Somebody's got to.
Well, it's something that we've talked about before, not on this podcast, obviously, since this is episode one. But you know, when you might have made a mistake in the rules or something, because I mean, Lord, it happens to me all the time. I've been playing D&D for longer than I've had hair down there. But
hell of a phrase.
But you know, it's easy to overlook something or forget a rule, especially if it's something weird and niche that you haven't come up with. And I think it's something that we both do, where you know, if you make a mistake like that and a player goes, "Hey," then you know, you look at him and go, "Okay, we're going to rule it this way, but then I'm going to double check that rule, and going forward, we'll do it correctly."
Yes.
That's such an important thing to do, kind of the yes and with both DMing and playing.
Yes.
Because if you break the session, I know we've discussed beating this horse, breaking the session so that everyone can pour over the rule books for a 3-sentence phrase. Why are we here?
Yeah.
Are we here to read rule books, or are we here to play a game?
Yeah. And then, or if they make a really good point, be like, that's a good point. I'm going to run it your way, and then I'm going to double check it later. So you like, and it also creates, it creates an atmosphere of collaboration. Because as much as we say collaborative storytelling, if you don't create the atmosphere for it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that as a DM, that's your job kind of is to set atmosphere. And that's why I say like to add the flavor and instead of the punishment, will enhance your atmosphere rather than diminish it. Because every time you get diminished for a natural one, now you're just dreading natural ones, and it just doesn't, it feels bad, man. But if you roll a natural one, you're like, ooh, what's this fucker gonna do to me? You know, like, what happened? You know, you get a little spike of interest on, ooh, how is the bad guy going to be better now?
Yeah.
You know. Also, you know what? And an interesting thing, the one-off that you ran.
Yeah.
When we're talking about carrots and sticks, you did a totally neutral option, which was really interesting to me, where you're like, hey guys, the CR for this was more than I was expecting, and it's pretty difficult, so I'm gonna dial things back and everything like that. It was interesting because my brain immediately, when it comes to atmosphere and nerfing monsters, I don't say anything to the players, but what I do is I change things, and then I create a narrative situation that changes it. Like, oh, that last hit, you cracked its armor, so its AC went down.
in that one-off, the minute that I said, you guys can't win this fight. And I remember the way I said it, because I looked at the stat block, looked at its damage that it was kicking out.
Oh, yeah. It was killing one person per turn and had over 200 health. We were fucked,
Yeah.
for the record.
Yeah, no, I definitely threw him something a little spicier than they should have had. And yeah, I looked at the page and I looked at everyone at the table and I said, you can't win this fight. And it wasn't a boast or anything. I actually felt really bad because that's not what I wanted to run.
Yeah.
And I instantly regretted saying that because, like Ty just said, I should have just in my head, dropped 100 hit points, kicked off a few D6s of damage, and then all of a sudden,
once you dropped 100 hit points, we had that thing dead in 2 turns.
Yeah,
because I was thinking about, we had every character was capable of rezzing somebody, and as long as it didn't do total kill damage, I think we could have done a dance with it, or we could have done the. Granted, it was a one-off, so you had to. If it wasn't a one-off, do the you did enough damage. It's a creature, and it recognizes it's not going to win. It's going to remember you and run away.
Yeah, well, I did that with like the crocodiles and the fish that you guys fought.
Dude, those crocodiles.
Well, they were there to eat, and when they bit off more than they could chew, they were like, "Oh, heck with this, we're getting out of here." And then a certain
bloodthirsty war priest,
a certain war priest who will remain nameless but is sitting across from me,
Stoaka,
said, "Nope, no survivors," and well, that was that. And it's funny because like the opposite side of that coin is a game that I ran recently for another group.
Yeah.
They were fighting what was effectively a young adult black dragon. So it was kind of a cross between the young and the adult.
Dead in a turn and a half.
Well, kind of, because I realized that there was no way with how they had built their characters that they were going to be able to actually do a whole lot to it, because they were all big melee builds or one spellcaster who was an utter coward.
Ooh, and a flying creature is just...
Exactly. They couldn't do anything to it. So at one point it did land, stupidly, but it's young. And, I ruled in my head, if they do like a quarter or a third of the damage, they're going to break its wings so it can't fly.
Smart.
And of course the paladin walked up and instantly did that with a smite.
Holy crap.
But
So it's funny because a lot of people are like, why are dragons such dickheads? Because they have to be able to make mistakes. Yeah. They are an insanely optimal monster.
Yeah.
To both run, to kill, to do all these things. So they have to have a major weakness in their personality and their pride. Believing to your last breath that you're going to win the fight is an amazing weakness.
Yeah, and it's honestly the only one that they have.
A lot.
Because if you play a dragon who is as intelligent as they are supposed to be, but also reasonable, God help your campaign world, let alone your party.
That's why your party should never attack good dragons. That's just a note for everybody.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little bit about the way we play. Let's go ahead and move on here.
Not getting everything you want out of your character? The Better Build Bureau can help fix that. BBB, your guide to min-max mayhem.
Welcome to the Better Builds Bureau. This is where we're going to help take your character. Maybe you have a DM who's just trying to kill you. Well, we're going to teach you how to fight back in nasty style. So, do you want to start since I started the other one, or you got somebody ready?
I don't think I have one ready. I have a very generic archetype that I feel has been used, reused, and just sloppily put away wet by the internet, and that's the Gloomstalker assassin build. Everyone knows that one, so I don't think I have anything original for today.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna go with one that it abuses the mobile feat like nothing else. So
I like that.
What I did is I made starting out, you want to take Protector Azamar. So Protector Azamar gives you all sorts of cool things. Main thing you want right now is your healing hands and the Radiant Soul. So at 3rd level, you give yourself, for a minute, wings and a flying speed. Oh, and each of your attacks do extra radiant damage, which will be equal to your level. And that's when you deal damage to it with an attack or a spell. So those are important.
Yes.
So I took the build. This one's a little bit higher build because I built it for a game that's coming up. It's a level 16.
Ooh.
First things first. It's gonna sound silly. You want to start with Wizard.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, why do I need mobile from Wizard? So, if you don't know them, so first things first, you get your first couple levels. Spell casting, I'm going to leave up to you, but I'll recommend a few essential spells and things like that as we go. But Arcane Tradition at 2nd spell, you want to take Blade Song. That's right, the old Blade Singing Wizard pop up, all of your goodness. As you go up, at 4th level, take your ability score improvement, just drop it all into intelligence. You want to max out your
Sure.
intelligence first thing off. This is all based off of standard array, by the way.
Yeah.
In which we're always going to try to build on standard array, but the main thing here is you want your int as high as you can.
Naturally.
And then your next ability improvement, you want to take mobile. That'll add 10 feet to your movement, and you can, when you use the dash action, difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement. And here's the big thing. When you make a melee attack against a creature, you do not provoke opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit or not.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, you do. Then, after that, take Warcaster. But the cool things in between, you're going to get your extra attack because you're a Blade Singer. You're going to get your Song of Defense, so you can direct your magic to absorb while your Blade Song is active. You can use your reaction to expend 1 spell slot to reduce damage to you by the equal to 5 times the spell slots. And at this point, you're going to have, you're a 10th level Blade Singer, you're going to have access to 5th level spells. That's 25 damage just off the top.
Well, there you go.
And then 14th level, the big cool thing that you really, really, really want is Song of Victory. You can add your intelligence modifier, which at this point will be +5, to the damage of your melee weapons while your blade song is active. This is important because that also adds it to every attack, including your offhand attacks. So you don't have to take dual wielder to get that extra 5 damage on your bonus option attacks. And if you popped your wings, you're doing extra radiant damage equal to your level at this point, which is another, what, we're level 14?
14, yeah.
Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds pretty OP already, but then what we're going to do is add 2 levels. And depending on your game, because you're going to be building organically through this, you can take this paladin levels at any time.
Yep.
Just get your blade song first, then sprinkle this in wherever you want it. But we're going to take 2 levels in paladin. Now, the big thing we're going to get, the 2nd level, you can get blind fighting. Mm-hmm. So that way you can always attack whatever's near you.
Yep.
Because you'll know where they're at, and that means they can't hit you back because you can run away, no opportunity attack. But the big thing about 2nd level paladins is they get smite.
Of course.
Now, smite does an extra 2d8 for 1st level spell slot, plus 1d8 for each spell higher level than first to a maximum of 5d8. You can use any of your spell slots to do smite damage. This includes your wizard spell slots.
I can't believe they haven't eroded that or something.
Well, it's a huge investment.
It is. It is. It's just a silly oversight on their part.
Oh, yeah. So what you can do for your ability scores for your standard array, drop strength down to 8, dexterity 14, so you get the +2 to your AC. Constitution, you're going to be a little squishy, but you shouldn't be getting hit because you're mobile feet. You should be getting in and out. You're a striker and out, and then you have your massive wizard just ability to cast spells to keep yourself safe. Now, intelligence, you're going to start at 15, and you're going to pump that up to 20 as soon as you can. Wisdom, 12, because you want to be able to see things and notice stuff. And then charisma is a kind of just a 10. You're not really going to be the face of the party, but you don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to be.
I imagine this character more of the, I studied this, and let me tell you about it sort of character. Now, since you're a protector, Azamar, I always go with the custom, what's it called? Basically, you can choose what stats go up and down.
Oh, yeah, the Tasha standard, basically.
The Tasha standard, yeah. Just drop all of that into intelligence, because that way you can get your intelligence to 20 with only 1 actual investment into it.
I thought that you had to do +1 to 1 and +2 to 1. You can do all 3 in 1?
Yep.
No.
Yeah. Now, here
Sweet
comes
Christ.
one of the cool fucky things about this build. So, make sure you okay it with your DM, but if you're able to, take the Lorehold student background. This gives you access to a bunch of spells. Not only do you get Abyssal and Infernal, but you get the Strixhaven Initiative feat. Now, with this feat, you can choose your college, and if you choose Lorehold, you get 1st level cleric or wizard spells that use your intelligence. You also get to choose 2 from Light, Sacred Flame, and Thaumaturgy. And as you level, you also get access to other spells like Spirit Guard.
Oh no.
So what you're going to be doing is you're going to cast cast your Blade Song as a bonus action,
Sure.
cast your Spirit Guardians, and then on your turns, you're going to be running in, hitting them with your Spirit Guardians for 3d8 or wherever you upcast it to, because you have access to level 9 spell slots at this point.
Good Lord.
And then you're going to fuck them up with your 3 attacks that you add your flight, your Azamar damage, your intelligence modifier, and whatever awesome weapon you've gotten at that point. And then you're gonna get out.
Well, it's funny on your first round, you use the action and bonus action to pop those things, and then you can just use movement to go get into it with the Spirit Guardians.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're doing damage the entire time. And that's what this is optimized for, is to do damage. And then outside of combat, you can have a bunch of ritual spells depending on what you choose. And then, at 16, I do have some recommendations if your DM is one who lets you recommend items, which I like to do because, if somebody's build is entirely dependent on an item, I want to come up with an awesome quest for them to find that item.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm playing a Jedi, boy howdy, I'd be real sad if I didn't get a sun sword by the end of the game.
Exactly. But one big one is the barrier tattoo. Now, you're probably only going to get rare, but that gives you 15 plus your dex mod. So that gives you a 17 AC. Then you Blade Song to add 5 to that, and you have a 23 AC. Pretty crazy. It requires attunement, which it's totally worth. In my opinion. There's another barrier tattoo above that, which gives you basically plate mail.
Yeah, it's plate armor.
But you're probably not going to get a DM that cool. Amulet of Health, always good. Pops your constitution up to 19, so you're actually a little more survivable. And then, basic things like Cloak of Protection is never bad early levels, especially where you get a bunch of your saves. And then any level of Arcane Grimoire. Now, the Arcane Grimoire is a really cool thing. It adds bonuses to your attack rolls and your saving DCs for all of your spells, and that would include your DC for Spirit Guardians.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I do recommend fun things like Lightning Lure and this is why.
Okay.
Because you pull people towards you to put them into your Spirit Guardians. Now, what you can do, because you have wings and are a total dickhead, is fly over somebody, lightning lure them up into the Spirit Guardians, and then drop them back down for falling damage.
Jeez.
So that is my crazy build of the day. And I call it the Mavir build because I imagine it is like this scholar who's also protecting things because he's a protector Asmar. So I imagine him like part of this like ancient, the mummy. He's the Magi.
The Magi, yeah.
That ancient protector sort of thing. And whether you use this build as a player who's always wanted to play a blade singing wizard but wanted to put a flavor of holy person behind it with a religion, I recommend that. But hell, if you're a DM who wants to have a really cool religion guy beat the crap out of your party and they can't touch him because he's flying around, and then he's like, no, I will teach you, sort of mentor thing. Or you want a real protector of a place, you can also make him a bad guy. But
what's cool about that guy, he's an Asmar, still a humanoid, right? So you can have him be some sort of divine agent from pick your religion, the mortal step below an archangel, and he comes and messes up the party and lets them know they've done wrong. And then when they try to cast banishment on him or something because they think he's an angel,
he's whoops, right back to this point.
Yep.
And that's the one of the cool things is, you got murder hobos or people who are just, you need them to focus. Really good pay attention character.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Come to think of it, let me look it up. At his insanity, at 16th level, you have 8th level spells. That means your Spirit Guardians are doing 8d8.
Wow.
Holy damage passively around you. You can also have a spirit. No, he doesn't have a spiritual weapon because he's not a cleric. Sorry, but with an Arcane Grimoire +3, guess the DC on
that. 21.
21 exactly.
Hey.
He got it. All right. Yeah, 21 save, and that is a wisdom saving throw.
Good Lord.
Which, not everything's very good at.
Yeah. And it's a really interesting build because something that I know you can run into a lot of trouble with just as a DM who is using player character classes to, well, for villains, for stuff that your party's going to fight. There's an action economy problem a lot of the times that, even like a level 16 like that guy is going to possibly struggle against like level 10s or something, but because he relies on, or at least makes heavy use of spirit guardians, he really has the potential to mess up the party in a bad way really quick.
Well, and like that's actually a really good point, because Spirit Guardians, remember, it's whenever you enter the Spirit Guardians or start your turn there. So he can do a flyby and hit everybody, and then you come into the dragon problem with him. You know, so that's that's my better build of the week, which is just
Good Lord,
I'm really looking forward to playing him.
That's spicy.
Well, I have a buddy who's doing basically the Blood War has leaked into
that's
reality.
such a good storyline.
I'm so excited.
I tried running that when I was in high school, and because my party did not, or my group did not spend all of their waking hours reading D&D lore like I did, they had no idea what was going on, and they were just like, everything's evil and we're gonna die. And I was like, you're correct.
One of the cool things about this, the DM, one thing he did that I really like is, again, the carrot thing is, it was originally a Saren Ray's power is waning. And they're being attacked by this demon called Olgameth. You need to go down to the Hells and deal with that. But when you take care of Olgameth, it disturbs the balance. So this is a sequel short shot, is what I would call them. It's not a full campaign, but it's you're going to be playing for a few months.
Okay.
Which, oh my God, I'm excited.
My mythical monsters, because your world is only as good as the things trying to destroy it.
Desperate to leave the salt swamp, Selazette has split her body up to attack boats on the river to claim it for her own. Selazette, once second in command to Grazd, finding many new and inventive ways to get the most entertainment out of every denizen of the Triple Realm. Her favorite was finding out how Felicag, dream steel, a metal that would meld to any thought that you had, could be used against those who sold it. Here, Grazd would permeate through his realm and turn whatever was purchased into a horror that only Grazd could imagine. Selazette enjoyed all that came with being in Grazd's favor: a palatial mansion, servants, lands, and serfs that she could use for her own entertainment. The seemingly endless entertainment kept her in favor for a great while. That was until someone found a better source of entertaining the High Lord. When Menelephus took the Nephsit estate while killing Chiron in front of his daughter, everyone expected severe consequences for the blatant, brazen attack. Grast, however, highly enjoyed watching the fear, not only from the Nephsit, but from the lords, as he seemingly endorsed the war among them. Selazette knew that she would be safer than most for a while. Grazd soon summoned her to the Argent Palace. Getting me to bring more and more Felicag into my realm was a brilliant move. A resource with power separate from my own. One you can justify in collecting because it's in service of me. What? My lord, she exclaimed. Now what to do about your betrayal? Let me ask my new second. Menelephus, delight me with your ideas. I propose we dispose of her and the dream steel together, bind them, replace her skin, muscles, and heart with the metal. Make her stronger. Then enchant her blood to be ever burning. Her will hold her together until it breaks. If she can make her way back from the mirrored realm without a fairy before she falls into pieces. Release the enchantment. The true suffering will come from the hope that one day she may be saved. A smile crossed Grazd's face. An excellent choice. Begin burning off her skin immediately. That was a small introduction to one of the monsters I've created called Selazette. Selazette is a demon of pure molten metal. Once the right hand to Grazd in the Triple Realm. That's GRAZZT if you want to look up his stat block. But she gets banished, basically, this demon, into what's called the Mirrored Realm. And if you don't know anything about the Triple Realm, I think it's 3.5 or second edition, but it's basically this realm of characters. It's a realm of the abyss, but there's 3 of these planes that are kind of bound together and ruled over by Graz. The really where she's being banished to is called the Mirrored Realm. Now, the Mirrored Realm is interesting, the fact that it is basically a desert, but instead of sand, it's all completely mirrored.
Ugh.
And the only thing that goes through it, the only defining thing in this infinity of mirrors, is a salt river. A river completely made of salt that grinds anything that falls into it into, a bloody pulp.
Ugh.
And so she's being banished there with the hope that if she can ever make her way back into, what was the city? Basically, there's a city in the Triple Realm. If she can make her way back to Grazd, then he'll release her from her blood being ever burning, and she'll be more powerful than ever.
Luckily for her, demons are known for keeping their word.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is she kind of relies on that lawful evil to keep her going. Now, what does this mean for your players? Well, that means if they find themselves in the Triple Realm and happen to, buy a boat, whether it's, a boatman, what's the Greek one?
Charon or Charon.
Yeah, I like the Chiron pronunciation. But yeah, Chiron, or any, demons like them to help them cross this river, they're still going to have to fight Selazat, because Selazat is looking for any way to get herself there. Now, in my game, I had her, they fought, and then she implanted herself in the subcutaneous layer of my Aarakocra, making him unable to fly and also just carrying a molten demon with him.
Ouch.
Well, whether you do that in your game, it's up to you. Now, Selazat, as far as the stats go, this is a CR 19 creature, so a fucking beast. Now, AC is going to be 19 because molten metal skin. Here's the real thing. You're going to have your party, you're going to have to decide where to put this for them. She has 500 HP. Her movement, she has 40 feet of movement along the ground, or she can spread wings made of molten metal and fly 80 feet. Now,
yikes.
Stat block for a 19. Strength is 28, so it's a +9. Dex is 22, +6. Con, 22, +6. Int, 15, +2. Wisdom, 15, +2. Charisma, 20, +5. Now, if you want to, these are stats that are definitely an intelligent creature that can be negotiated with. So if your players get a little too screwed, they can talk their way out of it. Or, find a way around this. Now, as far as their saving throws, strength saving throws, +14. Dex is +12. Con is +12. Int +5. Wisdom +3. So that way she has kind of a wisdom, obvious weakness. And then charisma is +6. Now, damage resistance. All physical attacks. And fire, of course. Now, completely immune to poison because her blood is on fire and it'll just burn the poison away. Immune to the poisoned condition. Immune to being prone because made of molten metal. Constrained, grappled. You cannot hold her in one place. Now, senses, because she is able to reach herself into the ground, she has a 120-foot true sight. 120-foot just like regular seeing around her because her eyes are on fire. She can't see further than that, but she also has a tremor sense out that far. So your rogues are in for a little bit of a surprise. But let's go into what she can do. Now, when it comes to her features, she has unstable form. So if your party is lucky enough to kill her, she explodes, and each creature within 60 feet must make a DC 20 dexterity saving throw, or taking 40 fire damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. The explosion also ignites all flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried. Now, this is fun because your players are more likely going to be on a boat at this point, so they'll have to put out all the fires on the boat in order to continue forward. Now, another thing about her is because she's made of actively molten metal. Like, this is metal that is heated. It's not like a Terminator. So she has a blistering aura. At the start of each of Selazat's turns, each creature within 5 feet takes 3d6 fire damage, and flammable objects that aren't being worn or carried ignite. A creature that touches Selazat or hits with a melee attack within 5 feet take the 3d6 fire damage. So every attack you do, you're taking damage. If you're not standing back using ranged attacks or magic. Now, because of Selazat's amorphous form, has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Now, because of Selazat's magical skin and that fact that all of their weapons are made from their skin, that means all of the attacks are going to be magical. Now, the really cool thing when you're playing this as a DM, because we all know that action economy is king. Selazat can split up into 4 separate bodies that all act on her initiative. And the only drawback is they all share the same HP. So that's why she has so much HP from a DM perspective.
Can you clarify, just because I've had a question about this? So say that she's been knocked down to 400 hit points.
Yeah.
Splits out into 400 separate bodies.
Four.
Not four. I mean, sorry, 4 separate bodies. So they all have 400 hit points, and then it's one pool that all 4 share.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not all 4 get 400 and Godspeed players.
not if you want your party to live.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they all share 1. So if each one takes 10 damage, then that's 40 damage off of the pool.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's and that means if somebody does an AoE that hits all 4 of them, they all take that damage. So your players will really have fun thinking their way around this. Now, as far as their attacks, they get 5 from the multi-attack, and you can choose from any of these. There's the Slam. It has a plus 18 to hit. Let's go. Reach of 15 feet, which will really screw with a lot of your party in my experience. It's a 1-target attack that does 2d12 plus 8 bludgeoning damage and 2d6 fire damage, because all of the attacks are molten metal that are on fire. You can do the Skin Sword, and make sure when you're DMing this to describe how she's twisting and forming into these different weapons and, really dive into the flavor on this. You're going to have a lot of fun. So the Skin Sword, this one is another plus 18 to hit, another reach 15 feet, 1 target to hit, and that's 3d12 plus 8 slashing damage and 2d6 fire damage. Now the Whip Skin, this one is really interesting because I use describing as just like literally not an arm or anything, just their skin like popping out of their stomach or something and flying forward. So this one is it's a plus 20 to hit, 30-foot reach. So this is how you really get your rogues and your spellcasters and stuff. Now it does 2d12 plus 8 slashing damage and 3d6 fire damage. Now the real bitch of this is target must succeed a DC 20 strength saving throw or be pulled 25 feet towards Selazat, putting them within that blistering aura. So they'll take the passive damage as well as the damage they took to get hit. And then finally, I included a nice movement feature for Selazat to kind of get her around the battlefield, where she can use her action to revert to a liquid form and then speed along the ground 90 feet to an unoccupied space. Now, if you wanted to add burrow speed to that, I would recommend a really high-level party, because I did think about that when I was making this creature. But, if you're looking for a liquid metal, just screw with your party because they went into the abyss, and you want to add some flavor to that triple realm sort of feel to her, I highly recommend Selazat, and that is my make a monster for this week.
So I have some questions if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
So when she splits, each one of her bodies also gets 5 attacks.
Yes.
That's nuts. Are all of them considered Selazat?
Yes.
So could theoretically, if say they're on 2 sides of the Salt River, one hits a character with their whip skin and then pulls it towards a different incarnation of their body, forcing them across the Salt River.
No, they all have to act independently.
All right. I just
that's
wanted
a
to
good
make
question.
sure.
But they can, from the boat. I actually did split and then left 2 on the boat and had 2 on the banks, and the banks were just trying to pull people into the Salt River.
Nice.
And
that's what I wanted to clear up with the whole, is it all considered the same being? Because
it's the same being acting, but you can't roll to hit with one and then use that for another part of it.
Okay, just making sure, because I'm sure that
that
someone somewhere was
screw with ranges so bad. Yeah, no,
being cheeky about it.
Good question. But yeah, it's one of those. I was trying to think of like a cool demon, like what makes demons cool, and it's kind of like and also what makes a fight cool. And with this one, I really like the idea of, because when they split into 4, each of them have that aura of damage around them, so it's going to be hard to get away from them. But also, each of them taking individual damage can be used against them. So it's a really, you have to be smart about when to split them and things like that. And then you can have one flying and another, running around. And
I think it's interesting that she is just classified as a fiend,
yeah,
because back in my day, I don't know if this is still true, but they used to classify demons in like a couple of different ways. I think
Yeah.
there were Tanari, Oberiths, and Klipoths.
I remember that. No, they don't do that anymore.
They don't, okay, because I was going to say if she is older than any of those, like she is, it's easy to think of, oh, this is someone who was just, Graz's right hand until 3 weeks ago. But if she's,
No,
eons old,
that's actually a point. She has been there for like hundreds of years. She is
thousands
lost.
probably.
Yeah. Who knows? Like time is
Time doesn't matter.
screwy. Yeah. Well, not only that, you're in a place where time means nothing. Everything's mirrored. Like the sun is always up.
Ugh.
Like you can't fathom the amount of mental torture this character has gone through after being on top of the world. So
Yeah.
they're really fun to play as an NPC, and that's why one of the things I like about this monster is they're also the way they've been treated may be open to having a little kindness thrown their way and stuff like that. And like I said, you can also do interesting things because they're made of molten metal. Have them hide in a backpack, hide them split up, hide them go under the subcutaneous layer. Now, what I did was another carrot situation. Is even that character had like the Selzat in there. Selzat had a vested interest in them making it to the city. So a shield would pop out made of molten metal. So they got a permanent, a temporary. Well, they had Selzat with them. +2 to their armor class because Selazat was using their shield to keep that character alive.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I assume that Selazat's alignment is chaotic evil,
as is befitting. Evil.
That's interesting for a demon since they are all chaotic evil usually.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking something else. No, you're right. Yeah, chaotic evil.
Okay,
my bad. It's been a while since I've looked at Selazat anyway.
That's why I brought it up a minute ago. You mentioned her relying on lawful evil, and I was just like, no, hang on a minute. Is she just?
Well, she was. Well, that's
she's insane. So insane for a demon would be order.
Yeah, no, and like the idea of revenge and rebuilding and holding Graz to their word and everything is the big motivator for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm totally behind that. I mean, it's kind of a funny older lore thing. Is Drow society was always characterized as chaotic evil, but if you ever like read any of the novels or any of the like
Menzo
serious
Baron's
lore,
it
is
so
lawful evil. It is insane. Yeah, it's nuts. It's more lawful than feudal Japan was. Good lord.
You're not wrong. Just curious, do you have any other questions about like how to run Selazat or anything that you think of that? I know it's a really high level encounter. I'm not.
No, it is, but yeah, honestly, while you were describing everything that it can do, I was thinking from a DM standpoint, how would I use this? That's why I had questions about like, using the whiplash between bodies and stuff, or whip skin, sorry.
Sounds so bad. I like adding the skin.
The skin just makes it sound gross, almost obscene, but not quite. But for a demon, that's appropriate. They're icky.
And their skin being made of liquid metal, it's not. It doesn't have the same kind, but it's not.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like she has any. Well, it's not that she doesn't have weaknesses, or they, she, they.
She. I guess. Well, literally, they can become they because they can split into different bodies.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, you could hit with pretty much any elemental attack, so to speak. With some radiant, some necrotic. Yeah. Which is interesting. Again, now I'm a little out of practice on my. What are they called? Outsider lore for demons, devils, and whatnot. Back in 3.5, I remember that they were resistant to a lot of things like, lightning and stuff like that. And she is not, which I think is a really interesting thing that you can play with. Because if everyone knows that she's a demon and goes into it thinking, oh, here's what we can't use against demons, but there's all these glaring holes because she doesn't follow that rule necessarily.
Oh, exactly. Because of all of her flesh and everything has been replaced by this, this dream steel, this molten metal. That was one of the cool things about it is you can, while you can't make the demon assumptions, you can try to make metal assumptions like using lightning and stuff like that. So, I think that's what it was interesting to me to try to basically make this not completely unreasonable, but like this, because it was the mirrored realm is boring. Okay, and I had my players going from a literal tree, like the snake trees forest. It's literally trees with all the branches are snakes, and they try to eat you and pull you in, and they can hypnotize you. It's all crazy.
That I'm aware of, yes.
Yeah. But then they go through the mirrored realm before they get to the big city, where there's all sorts of messed up stuff about that. But I needed the mirrored realm to be interesting,
Right.
and I was like, instead of trying to build a bunch of things to run into and everything, I was like, I'm gonna make one big cool
One big
fight.
old bitch. All right.
Exactly. No.
Huh.
So that's my mythical monster of the week, and I know you ran one recently from MCDM.
Yes.
You want to
from
talk
the book,
about
from
the
the book
flea mortals?
Mortals. All right. So this is a creature called a Lama Sombra.
Such a cool name.
Yeah. And the physical description is like an arachnid lizard hybrid. The picture art, is very much similar to if you've seen the old Riddick movie Pitch Black, the first of the series. It looks like the flying things from those, but if it didn't have wings. The description does,
Some heavy lifting.
well, the description makes sure that that, it's not copyright infringement alien. I mean, credit where it's due. It definitely fulfills that niche and is probably now in my top 10 favorite monsters I've ever thrown against a party.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a medium monstrosity, but, depending on how your campaign is formatted and what's going on, I actually ran it as an aberration so that one of my characters could gain a piety increase for slaying an aberration. It's a whole thing. I'm running a series of one-shots to build mythology for an entire different rule set in the same campaign setting. It's a nightmare.
And remember, that's always allowed.
Yeah, well, you do D&D because that's the really, truly heroic stuff and the big bad myths, the Herculeses, and then you do something where people are actually going to die, like a percentile system, to represent the plight of the common man.
Yep. One is gods being people, the other's people trying to
be other people.
Be other people. Be not dead people.
So yeah, it's a medium monstrosity. Interestingly, it's unaligned. So it's a critter. That's kind of the important thing to take away from this. It's not malevolent per se. I would the way that I read into it, and we'll get into it a little bit as we go into some of its descriptions. The way I thought of it was a cross between the xenomorph from Alien and the mindset of a Komodo dragon, which I will elaborate on very shortly. So it's a CR 13. This book has it classified as an ambusher. One of the really cool things that the MCDM series does is classifying different monsters to kind of give you an idea of how you should use them,
Yeah, their functionality.
Yeah, an ambusher is not something that you just want to drop in the middle of your party and stand there going toe-to-toe with the barbarian. That's silly. That's not what it's here for. That's expecting, a crocodile to start to stand up and start shooting a bow and arrow. It just doesn't make sense for how the creature is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, as I said, it's medium. Armor class is 16, so it's on the harder side to hit, but for, a group level 13s probably isn't that difficult.
Yeah, I'd call that at least a 50-50.
Yeah, like they're going to hit
60-40,
if they can see it.
That's the
Which,
real...
we'll get there in a sec. Hit points, 204. It's a beefy little sucker. It's for the art depicting it as spindly as it is, and kind of like the image you get in your head when you read whatever descriptions either you as a DM have or out of the book. You don't expect it to be as tough as it is.
Yeah.
And when it comes popping off with over 200 hit points, it's just like, wait, hold on.
Why aren't you dead yet?
Yeah. I smote it 3 times. Dad, help. Yeah. Speed. Now this is where we start to get into what this monster actually is. So it has a 60-foot movement speed. Just insane. So fast. To supplement that, it has a 60-foot climb speed as well.
Don't fight it in a cave.
Yeah. And I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. It also has spider climb. It can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check.
Ooh.
Now, we'll get there. So its ability scores are beefy but straightforward. Strength 18, so it's got a +4 bonus there. Dexterity is 22 with a +6 bonus. Constitution is 19 with a +4. Intelligence is 7 with a -2. So it's not going to sit down and have a conversation with you, but it can reason its way out of a box.
It knows when to run away, which is a huge thing with
Yes.
monsters.
Oh, and it's going to be super important with how I'm going to recommend playing this. Its wisdom is 14, so with a +2 bonus there. And interestingly, its charisma is an 8 with a -1. Now, I assume that's to just generically offset any sort of penalty to saves.
Well, also, no, I think it's also because, the way it looks and everything, it's hard for it to engage with most anything.
Well, what I'm saying is I would expect it to be lower, like a 5 or a 6 or something.
Oh,
But,
really? Okay.
just because it's a critter, it's a monster, it's an ugly critter. Even though charisma is not, as we all know, it is not a measure of physical beauty, but a force of personality. It's just, hey, I feel like it needs to be said and said again because so many people, I have an 18 in charisma, my character's hot. Okay, cool. What else is your character that gives them an 18 charisma?
Well, you know how many hot people I've met who had no charisma?
Seriously, yeah.
Most of them. No. That's a lie.
All right, so it's saving throws. Now, this book does an interesting thing where it leaves you as the DM to parse out most of the saving throws unless it's something that it's got some kind of proficiency in. Which, in this case, the Lama Sombra has proficiency, I assume, in dexterity, giving it a +11 to its dexterity saving throw. So, you're going to hit it with Fireball? No, you're not.
Yeah, that nice skittery around whatever you're trying to do. That's
right.
Super flavorful.
My wife, who was playing in the one shot where I ran this, she likened how this thing moves to, if you've seen the movie Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah.
Randall, the purple lizard guy. Yeah.
100%.
Well, I mean, it even kind of looks like him, 8 legs, long lizard thing. Sure. It's also got a +9 Constitution saving throw. So that's, he's a tough little sucker. Senses. Blind sight 120 feet. Now, this is...
Oh, the dark? Who gives it?
Yeah, it's interesting because it doesn't actually have dark vision. I mean, it doesn't need it. But the reason that's important is because it can hunt gloomstalkers, the ranger subclass that hides from anything that has dark vision. This is so important because I'm just going to go ahead and skip down to the ability now, kind of the thing that makes this such a threat. Cave Apex. The Lama Sombra's unnatural scales, padded feet, and bones allow them to avoid detection. They can't be detected with tremor sense. When the Lama Sombra is in darkness or dim light, they are invisible to creatures with dark vision, but they are visible in dim light to creatures without dark vision. So, basically, they've got a slightly beefed up version of the Gloomstalker subclasses, what is it? Dread Ambusher, I believe
it is. Yeah.
So it makes it really interesting because in that party we had a Gloomstalker and this creature they would have been dancing around each other a whole lot if it weren't for the fact that this has blind sight.
And I hit it with a glowy spell. Yes,
and you lit it up, so that definitely helped.
So,
now, it's interesting because the way this is written, very obviously thematically, they want it to be in a cave.
Yeah.
Like, that's the idea, right? I think this is such a greater threat in a forest or a jungle.
No, the marsh where you put it was the best because of the impaired terrain for us. And then with the climbing speed, it was just
exactly that's
running through trees.
Anything like that. Man. Somewhere that's not as closed in as a cave, though, because a cave you've got 2 or 3 directions to go.
Honestly, I think maybe that's why they recommend caves because it's a little too powerful outside of it.
That's definitely true because if it can go anywhere, it will. There's no reason it shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into kind of the meat and potatoes of how it fights. It makes 1 bite attack and 1 tongue attack. It has multi-attack.
Damn.
Now, when I opened up the combat with this thing, I read the attacks in the order in which they are presented, which is alphabetically, not necessarily the order that they should be used in, that is how I'm going to read them. So first off, you have the tongue attack. Melee weapon attack +11 to hit, 20-foot reach. 20-foot reach. 1 target.
Outside your fire.
Yeah, right? 1 target. On a hit, it does 6d6 +6 bludgeoning damage. Or, and here's where the fun starts, 9d6 +6 bludgeoning damage if the target is a creature who cannot see the Lama Sombra. Like it has sneak attack.
Oh, God. Yeah, just like, it's meant to hunt Gloomstalkers or the Underdark.
Pretty much, yeah. If the target is large or smaller, or a large or smaller creature, they are pulled up to 15 feet in a straight line toward the Lama Sombra. So when you first read it's got a bite and a tongue attack, I thought, it's like Alien. It hits with the bite, then it goes for the tongue. No, this is a frog's tongue that has pain attached to the end. and then it's going to pull you in close. Then it's going to hit you with the bite attack. Melee weapon attack, again, a plus 11 to hit. Reach 5 feet, 1 creature. On a hit, 6d8 plus 6 piercing damage. If the target is a creature, they must succeed on a DC 17 Constitution saving throw or contract boiling wastes disease. Until the disease is cured, the target can't regain hit points, and the Lama Sombra can sense the direction to the creature's location as long as they're on the same plane of existence. We're going to circle back to this after I read its last...
Real quick, I have to add, so when we got jumped by this, 70 HP in the first attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first little round of fuck yous, 70! It was nuts.
And the last thing on this stat block before we get into the dig deeper is Nightmarish Cunning. The Lama Sombra takes the dash, disengage, or hide action. It's basically a juiced up alien with 3 levels in Rogue.
It's got them bonus action.
Yep, it has cunning action. So, now the way I did run this was as an ambush critter, realized that it might have been a little too juicy for what my party was going for because they were lower level, but they were also very powerful for their level.
100%.
And I thought they could have taken it. They probably could have taken a CR13 from the monster manual, but not from a publication that, quite frankly, knows what it's doing.
Yeah,
with,
I cannot recommend them
challenge rating
enough.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. So now the way that I would run this is, again, as an ambush predator. Do your thing. Wait until the party's asleep or on watch, whatever. Have it attack the person on watch. Hits them with that tongue action, yanks them away from the fire, bites
instantly kills them.
Even if it doesn't instantly kill them, it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Bites them enough times to give them boiling wastes, and then leaves.
Oh.
They can't heal, and now it knows where the party is for the rest of however many days you want to drag this encounter out. Sure, it's CR13, but if you manage to get the right drop on some CR15s, some level 15 players, you could make this hurt.
Well, can you imagine for 15th level players, imagine 2 or 3 of them?
Oh, no, that's a nightmare.
One gets your watch guy, the others you're asleep, so you all take the sneak attack damage and you all get the poison, and you use them like a chase predator where they just keep whittling you down every night.
Well, and that's where the Komodo dragon mindset comes in, because it bites you, it infects you with, because for a long time they thought that they just had super bacterial saliva. Now it's been, of course, before people jump into the comments, I am aware that they have tiny little venom sacs over each one of their teeth.
I didn't hear that update on animal lore, so that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a fairly recent, last couple of years kind of thing.
Yeah, that explains, because I could not fathom the foul mouth you'd have to have in order.
Yeah, right. It doesn't make any sense.
It
would be worse than any other predator.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it if you approach it with that kind of mindset where it's a kind of a Komodo dragon on cocaine, so it runs in, bites you, does the thing, and then runs away. Sure, I mean, if it thinks it can make the kill and run off with the body, obviously it's going to, but if it doesn't, if it looks like, oh shit, all of a sudden I have to fight 4 of these hairless monkeys of varying skin tones and shooting all sorts of colors out of their fingers and swinging sharp things, I'm gonna get out of here. But I'll come back tomorrow.
One thing I will say is, don't be the DM who has 3 of these lined up because they're so smart and they just keep dragging further and further away. That is not the type of creature this is.
No, that they're not that smart. Yeah. They're smart predators. They're smart hunters.
As a view into my worst DM instincts.
Oh my god. Oh jeez. Oh, I hate that so much.
It's so bad. Yeah.
And that's instant death. Like, not instant death, but that's so much damage for one character who's now, 60 feet, 45 feet away from everyone else?
You're 45 feet away. You've taken 70 damage 3 times. You had 210 damage. You're dead.
Yeah. You're gonna have a bad time.
And being digested at that point. No.
Yeah. But there's parts of you in each one of them. So, this is a very interesting creature, and fair warning, Ty, I do plan on using this again.
I knew that was coming.
But properly. I mean, I really want this thing to harass an entire party, because it can, and I think that's part of the, this isn't a stick moment, but it's a very interesting monster to kind of help players remember how important rests are.
Well, now hold on. Now, there's a difference between a stick and a challenge. Stick is punishment. Challenge is something to rise to.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a challenge.
Hell yeah.
Because especially with certain DMs that I do and have played with, rests seem like such a foregone conclusion. Like, you're going to get the rest. Almost nothing is ever going to interrupt it. And if it does, it's fine because we'll sleep in an extra hour so the wizard can get his spells back. But if you have this thing, running in at hour 3 or hour 4 of the rest, or it comes back a couple of times in the night.
Well, that's the thing is it only has to keep a character up for an hour to break a long rest.
Yep.
If it's just harassing for an hour and waiting for the shift until something's squishier and fight, because it being near invisible to dark vision, it having the ambushing, it being able to just constantly make you not able to heal.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, I like the idea that it clearly knows that, it's not stupid. So it would just wait, the old human trick. I hurt you and then I follow you till you die.
Yeah. It does the sniper thing. Hit the medic or hit someone and then wait for the medic to run out and heal them.
Oh.
But, I didn't go over its skills. So the skills are pretty straightforward. Perception +7. So, it's got a pretty good chance of seeing pretty much everything but your stealth spec rogue, especially with the blind sight. Stealth +16. Now, obviously, because this thing is an ambush hunter, you want it to be stealthy, and it wants to be stealthy. So that +16 is going to be really beneficial when it's trying to sneak up on the party, especially if you judge that it's intelligent enough to know that the guy in the robes and the pointy hat might be the easiest prey, so to speak. It's that old, big game predator mentality of always go for the one that limps. If there's one party member that's obviously weak, whether it's from being injured in combat or because they're the scrawniest one that's running around with the least amount of armor and pointy things to throw back at you, it might be smart enough to parse out that that's the one to wait for until it's on watch and hit it with that +16 stealth. I mean, his nose is buried in a book, or her nose, their nose, and they're not paying attention. Then all of a sudden, sad times. And to round out its skills, it has a +7 survival. Notionally, I assume, so that it can track whoever is unfortunate enough to contract the boiling wastes disease. So overall, this is a, pretty tricky creature. If you were to, as a party of 4 level 13s, get it in a toe-to-toe stand-up fight where you've got it surrounded or in, whatever your ideal combat conditions are, and you just started laying waste, it's going to go down pretty quickly. But if it takes its time and the DM takes its time and you don't let the players get any time to themselves, this thing is going to be absolutely devastating to your party.
Man, talk about a disruptor of a creature. Holy shit.
Really, though.
All right, cool. So those are a couple monsters that you can add to your campaigns. Now, we went high level this time, so we'll probably go lower level next time. But these are just to get, these are just monsters we were just excited for because they're so cool.
Seriously. Can't get enough of the Lana Sombra. I might get that thing tattooed on me.
I've seen worse tattoos. But with that, we're going to go ahead and I think probably wrap it up. And
that sounds good to me.
Special thanks to our current sponsors. We've got Canine Medicinals. They do kind of health stuff for dogs and cats and stuff. So go check them out, caninmedicinals.com. And then we got Superliminal Teas. We're going to try to get that, run the game what was it? Run the game you want to play in?
DM the game you want to play?
DM the game you want to play in. And we're going to try to get them to make us a shirt like that. But meanwhile, they have such amazing shirts and things like that. Like, I think my favorite is Bigfoot was abducted. Yeah.
Solid.
And then you can find them at etsy.com/hyperliminalteas. And we'll see if we can get some merch there. They also have a just amazing stuff. You have to check it out. But other than that, we're super glad you guys kind of gave us a listen, gave us a chance, and hopefully we'll deliver some more good content for you in episode 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. Any last thoughts?
DM the game you want to play in.
DM the game you want to play in! Perfect.
You've been listening to the DM Emporium podcast. To support us, click the links in the description. Buy a t-shirt or join our Patreon. Join us next week for more builds, game running theory, and useful tips for any campaign.